Hello everyone, this is Yana Smakula here at Spellbinders, and thank you for joining me today. In this video, I will show you how to alter your die cuts with scissors to make them work for your project. I'm going to use filigree pocket dies, braided grace square dies, as well as the 6x6 Metting Basics A and B dies to complete this project. Let's get started. Here's a quick look at the card we will be making in this video. This card was published in the Die Cutting Essentials magazine, issue 25, along with a few other cards done in a similar style. Check it out for more inspiration. I'm going to begin by die cutting base panels for my project. I need to cut one out of pink cardstock and also another slightly smaller panel out of patterned paper. You can cut panels like these using your paper trimmer, but I love to use my Metting Basic dies for this as I always get perfectly sized panels. And you can also dry emboss them and add a little bit of extra texture. If you ever forget what sandwich you need to make to cut or emboss, you can always find this information on the base platform in both Platinum and Platinum 6 machines. This is very handy. I rarely emboss with embossing folders, so I can never remember what sandwich I need to build, and having that information here helps a great deal. While I didn't emboss the pink cardstock panel, I am embossing the patterned paper one. It's hard to see that embossing, but it looks really beautiful in real life. Next, I have two dies from the filigree pocket set, and I'm going to use them both. I've already connected them using washi tape to make it easier to cut. So I'm using both of them to cut 4 identical elements out of gold glitter paper and later pearlescent white cardstock. You'll notice I go outside the edge of my paper when I place the die. This is because I do not need to cut the entire shape out. I just need the filigree insert and embossed lines around it. I will later use my paper trimmer and will trim these shapes to be slightly smaller, and you'll see what I mean in just a minute. Another way to do this is to cut a 5-inch square panel out of gold glitter and pearlescent paper and die cut just the filigree insert 4 times to create a background. As I was cutting the last element out of gold glitter paper, I also die cut a ribbon medallion. I die cut 4 identical pieces out of pearlescent white paper, and now I'm using dies from the braided grace square set and cutting a label out of same pearlescent white paper. This paper, by the way, is from Whirlwind. One last element I need to cut is the smaller label, and I'm cutting this out of white paper. I need it to house a sentiment for this project. The die cutting part is done, moving on to the card assembly. I'm going to quickly trim my gold and white filigree die cuts to make them all nice and even. The embossed edges from the outer die, the pocket die itself, left visible indentations on my paper, and I'm using them as guides to know where to make the cut. This way, I don't have to measure anything, and cutting process goes a lot faster. I'm going to use tape and adhere gold die cuts onto pearlescent one, and will offset slightly to create a nice shadow for these. I find adding a second layer die cut in another color helps the die cut pieces stand out way better on my cards. I've adhered my background panels together, and in order to pop them onto my card base, I'm adding a layer of fun foam from the back. You can use foam adhesive, and I often do that, but adding a solid layer of fun foam makes the card much more sturdy. To adhere my filigree pieces, I'm using foam adhesive squares. I've cut mine into narrow strips to be able to hide behind my die cuts, and I'm adhering them one by one onto my background. I don't want to cover much of this beautiful background as I've put a lot of time and effort into making it, so I'm going to alter my braided grace square die using scissors. I'm cutting off some of the loops to turn this square piece into a rectangular one. All you have to do to make sure it looks neatly is to follow the cut lines with your scissors. Before I add this onto my card, I'm going to add some ribbon. This is 1 1/4 inch wide silk ribbon from May Arts. I'm centering it on my card, and to save some ribbon and use less, I'm actually going to adhere it from the back rather than looping it all the way around my card. This doesn't save a lot of ribbon, but it still saves some, and with expensive ribbons like this one, I try to save as much as I can. I've foam mounted my altered braided gray square panel, and I'm working on my sentiment now. I chose to use a thank you message for this card, but this design can easily work for many other occasions. The stamp set I'm using today is called Many Thanks, and it comes from Alt New. Before I adhere the sentiment panel, I need to add the ribbon medallion die cut piece. I'm foam mounting this in place and will then add the white stamped panel on top. And all that's left to do now is embellish this card with pearls and add a ribbon bow. You can add additional embellishments if you like, or keep this card simple. It's up to you. So here's a closer look at these cards. If you have any questions about this project, please leave them in a comment section below. And be sure to subscribe to Spellbinders YouTube channel for more education and inspiration. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.